Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for a You Orns reaction moment. Well, the news has come in earlier today, just a little while ago now. Rob Edwards will be your new gaffer at Watford Football Club, effective immediately after the end of this season. And that's good news, good news. And I am very pleased that the board has announced this now. And I think it's a smart bit of business to do it now because the atmosphere tonight at Vicarage Road would probably be a lot more toxic had this not been mentioned. Now, look, some people had been saying that Rob Edwards was in the wings and waiting. Others had talked about John Eustace. I was one of those. Others, like myself, had talked about Diego Martinez. But the new man on the street at the Vic, starting from the end of this season, will be one Rob Edwards. By the way, this is a good signing for a management prospect. I think this is someone who can get the job done. Look at his resume. According to the Watford club statement that was released just a short while ago, Rob Edwards is someone who did well at Forest Green Rovers. As a matter of fact, he got them promoted as champions. That happened just this season. Now, you can't beat that. I mean, first time in the Forest Green Rovers history, they got promoted as champions at the top of League Two in EFL football. So he leaves one club in a better position than when he got there, and they will be promoted as champions. Now they've won the championship, the title in League Two. They'll be in League One next season, Forest Green Rovers, and give him credit. I think that's really great. He also is someone who is the disciple of Graham Taylor. That's something that is good news. Graham Taylor gave him his first professional game, his professional debut in 2002 at Aston Villa. Played football for 10 years, did Rob, and an injury sadly cut his career of playing short. And then he went into these roles of under 18, under 23 as a coach into the Wolves Academy. I'm just looking at the statement here, and then you probably read it as well on WatfordFC.com and also, of course, on Twitter at WatfordFC. And this is good. This is good. He got promotion to Premier League Two. And this is good. This is a manager, and I'm looking at this now, who, he was the head coach of the England under-16s and had a coaching role in the Young Lions under-21 setup, under-20 setup. You're looking, this is reading the statement now. You're looking at a manager who has a pedigree with the youth, which is one of the things I've called for. And I'm not the only Watford fan who has, but one of the things I've called for is this team has to get younger and this team has to get hungrier. And we have some players that have gone out on loan, like Joseph Hungbo, like Matty Pollock, like Domingos Quina, who are young and hungry. And when they're given the opportunity to play themselves into contention and flourish on the pitch, hey, they are warriors and they'll produce for you. Matty Pollock, Cheltenham Town Player of the Season. Domingos Quina made a really good impact at Barnsley. And I know Barnsley are relegated this season from the championship. But look, Domingos Quina scored one of the goals. I think he scored the goal of the season for them. And he has an impact. He scored a few goals for them this season, has Domingos. And then you've got someone like Joseph Hungbo, who has made an impact up in Scotland. You can't go wrong with that, can you? Rob Edwards coming in. I think Rob Edwards is someone that, again, the board had brought him in, and it seems to me, and they did say that they'd be looking at this, they were looking at, and I think they're going to be looking at and doing more with the youth. It's very important to bet in youth. And that's something that a lot of these head coaches who've come and gone at this club have not really done. And the recruiting has not even facilitated that. Now, I hope that the recruiting gets better because Rob Edwards, while he is a welcome presence, and by the way, welcome in, Rob. Glad to have you here. I can tell you that. Just one Watford fan telling you that. Thank you very much for taking on this task. It's great to have you here. Welcome aboard. You've got lots of work to do, of course. You know that. You know what the expectations are at this club. But look, we have to define what those are, because is it back to the Premier League immediately? I mean, I'd love that. but we've got to build a foundation, don't we? What do you think? I think we should be building a foundation. Now, if it happens to be that we get promoted to the Premier League at the end of next season, then fine. But we've got to have a base, and we've got to understand what the base is that we're building on. And it has to be a foundation based on youth. And you have to now rebuild this club from the bottom up, and not just rebuild on the pitch. You've got to rebuild off the pitch. I think that Rob Edwards is a very good appointment. I go along with it. I'm much more enthusiastic about it because it's a forward thinking appointment, a younger manager. He's probably, I think, in his early 40s, 41, 42, somewhere around there. He's in his early 40s. He's someone who has been proven with the youth. He's got results. He's got to tune out the youth. I think the youth will gravitate to him. And another thing is, he's someone who has worked in the English system in the Three Lions before, and he's going to be someone that's going to bring, I think, a very good approach. He has attractive football that he plays. It certainly worked at Forest Green Rovers. And I know there's some people who are chirping about whether or not Watford did this behind someone's back. The fact of the matter is, according to the club statement at least, is that he was a free agent and he was contractually allowed to negotiate with Watford while he was still finishing out his time at Forest Green Rovers. So I don't know where some of the dissension is coming from some Watford fans, but I'll tell you this: I'm on board with the appointment, and certainly I'm really delighted to see that Rob Edwards is going to be the man that takes Watford forward. Now he's got to be allowed at least 4 seasons in this in the club. Now I know someone joked to me on Twitter the literal 4 seasons, winter, spring, summer, and autumn. Yeah, okay, very funny, very good. That's what you can expect. Some good naturedness about this, but he's got to be given 4 footballing seasons at Watford at least. You do not fire this man. Don't sack him after 1 season, after 10 games, after 20. I don't care if we even get relegated next season. And of course, I don't see that happening. But if it were to happen, stick with Rob Edwards, stick with him. You have to go through the ups and downs with a manager and a team, and you have to be able to stick together and build an identity. And that's the other thing. Youth has to be the foundation upon which the performances on the pitch are fermented from. And also, there has to be an eye towards stability and cohesion on the pitch. You've got to build that up too, and an identity on the pitch. And I'm confident that Rob Edwards is going to be able to do this. And it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen in 10 games. It's not going to happen in 20 games. It might take place, barely before we get to the end of the season, the first one that Rob will be here for. I hope he does get to stay around for 3 or 4 seasons. I really do, because it doesn't make sense to scrap him. If they lose 7 in a row next season in the championship, it doesn't make sense for the owner to get rid of him. It just doesn't make sense to do that. You stick with the man, stick with him. And again, as I've said before, bring in players who want to play at this club and who want to play for this manager who's coming in and play for the shirt. It's got to happen that way. Rob Edwards, welcome aboard. And now the recruiting has to be tinkered with and changed a lot. You have to make changes off the pitch. Again, I think the chairman still needs to consider his position and move along. Roy Hodgson will not be here for much longer, thank goodness. I'll be over him when he's finally out the door. But this move by the board today was a very smart and calculated one, I think in part to tamp down on the expected toxic atmosphere at the Vic tonight. But, this is the move that counters that and is aimed at some point, in part, to temper what could be a very, toxic atmosphere at the Vic, especially if Watford lose the game. Roy Hodgson is not going to be welcomed with open arms tonight, no matter what. Yes, he's apologized reportedly about what he's done. The club really did not endear himself to the fans from the start, and the nonsense he did on Saturday at Pass is disgraceful enough. We know that. But I think the board today has anticipated that the fever based on social media reaction among the fan base is not good and is not healthy. And you can expect that, especially the way that this club has been run this season and in years past, in recent years past, and especially what's been going on in behind the scenes this season has been appalling. So the board now, I think, is making this move in part not only to herald a transition, which is a good idea to do this when the season's still going on and when we already know where Watford are going to be next season, but also to do this to kind of tamp down on any of the fan dissent that is expected both on social media and at the Vic tonight. Now, I hope that Watford are buoyed by this particular appointment and they start to play. Now, I don't know if that's going to make any difference to this lot because most of them, I say 80% of them are going to be out the door anyway at the end of this season, just another week and a half away. But the point of the matter is, and the fact of the matter is, Rob Edwards is here, and I hope he's here for a good few seasons to come, good few years to come. So welcome in, Rob. I almost said Roy. Welcome in, Rob. And Rob Edwards, wishing you all the very best. And I really do hope that you can turn this ship around. But there's lots more changes that need to be made beyond you. And one of the changes that needs to be made beyond you coming in, of course, which is the really good change to begin with, but the board has to change. Again, you can't just change things on the pitch without changing some of the chess pieces on the board upstairs. And I think that that means that Scott Duxbury is one of the pieces that needs to be removed and moved on. I really do. You need to change. If you're going to bring in a new era at this club, bring it in every respect, not just on the pitch with the management and the players, but also upstairs with the board as well. This has been the You Orns reaction. And don't forget, you can follow and subscribe. Please like and subscribe these videos, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and give your thoughts on what you think about Rob Edwards as well.